The geography of Croatia is defined by its location. It is described as a part of Central and Southeast Europe, a part of the Balkans and Middle Europa. Croatia's territory covers 56,594 square kilometers, making it the 127th largest country in the world, bordered by Bosnia and Herzegovina and Serbia in the east, Slovenia in the west, Hungary in the north and Montenegro and the Adriatic Sea in the south. It lies mostly between latitudes 42 degrees and 47 degrees north and longitudes 13 degrees and 20 degrees east. Croatia's territorial waters encompass 18,981 square kilometers in a 12 nautical miles wide zone, and its internal waters located within the baseline cover an additional 12,498 square kilometers. The Pannonian Basin and the Dinaric Alps, along with the Adriatic Basin, represent major geomorphological parts of Croatia. Lowlands make up the bulk of Croatia, with elevations of less than 200 meters above sea level recorded in 53.42% of the country. Most of the lowlands are found in the northern regions, especially in Slovenia, itself a part of the Pannonian Basin plain. The plains are interspersed with horst and graben structures believed to have broken the Pliocene Pannonian sea surface as islands. The greatest concentration of ground at relatively high elevations is found in the Lika and Gorski Katar areas in the Dinaric Alps, but high areas are found in all regions of Croatia to some extent. The Dinaric Alps contain the highest mountain in Croatia, 1,831 meter Dinara, as well as all other mountains in Croatia higher than 1,500 meters. Croatia's Adriatic Sea mainland coast is 1,777.3 kilometers long, while its 1,246 islands and islets encompass a further 4,058 kilometers of coastline, the most indented coastline in the Mediterranean. Karst topography makes up about half of Croatia and is especially prominent in the Dinaric Alps, as well as throughout the coastal areas and the islands. 62% of Croatia's territory is encompassed by the Black Sea drainage basin. The area includes the largest rivers flowing in the country: the Danube, Sava, Drava, Mur and Kupa. The remainder belongs to the Adriatic Sea drainage basin, where the largest river by far is the Neretva. Most of Croatia has a moderately warm and rainy continental climate as defined by the Köppen climate classification. The mean monthly temperature ranges between -3 degrees Celsius and 18 degrees Celsius. Croatia has a number of ecoregions because of its climate and geomorphology, and the country is consequently among the most biodiverse in Europe. There are 4 types of biogeographical regions in Croatia: Mediterranean along the coast and in its immediate hinterland, Alpine in the elevated Lika and Gorski Katar, Pannonian along the Drava and Danube, and continental in the remaining areas. There are 444 protected natural areas in Croatia, encompassing 8.5% of the country. There are about 37,000 known species in Croatia, and the total number of species is estimated to be between 50,000 and 100,000. The permanent population of Croatia by 2011 census reached 4.29 million. The population density was 75.8 inhabitants per square kilometer, and the overall life expectancy in Croatia at birth was 75.7 years. The country is inhabited mostly by Croats, while minorities include Serbs and 21 other ethnicities recognized by the constitution. Since the counties were re-established in 1992, Croatia is divided into 20 counties and the capital city of Zagreb. The counties subdivide into 127 cities and 429 municipalities. The average urbanization rate in Croatia stands at 56%, with a growing urban population and shrinking rural population. The largest city and the nation's capital is Zagreb, with an urban population of 686,568 in the city itself and a metropolitan area population of 978,161. The populations of Split and Rijeka exceed 100,000, and 5 more cities in Croatia have populations over 50,000. Area and borders. Croatia's territory covers 56,594 square kilometers, making it the 127th largest country in the world. The physical geography of Croatia is defined by its location. It is described as a part of Central Europe and Southeast Europe, a part of the Balkans and Mitteleuropa. Croatia borders Bosnia-Herzegovina and Serbia in the east, Slovenia for 667.8 kilometers in the west, Hungary for 355.5 kilometers in the north, and Montenegro for 22.6 kilometers, and the Adriatic Sea in the south. It lies mostly between latitudes 42 degrees and 47 degrees north and longitudes 13 degrees and 20 degrees east. Part of the extreme south of Croatia is separated from the rest of the mainland by a short coastline strip around near belonging to Bosnia-Herzegovina. Croatia's 348-kilometer border with Hungary was inherited from Yugoslavia. Much of the border with Hungary follows the Drava River or its former riverbed. That part of the border dates from the Middle Ages. The border in Međimurje and Baranja was defined as a border between the Kingdom of Hungary and the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes, later renamed the Kingdom of Yugoslavia, pursuant to the Treaty of Trianon of 1920. The present outline of the 956-kilometer border with Bosnia-Herzegovina and 19-kilometer border with Montenegro is largely the result of the Ottoman conquest and subsequent recapture of territories in the Great Turkish War of 1667–1698, formally ending with the Treaty of Karlowitz, as well as the 5th and 7th Ottoman-Venetian Wars. This border had minor modifications in 1947 when all borders of the former Yugoslav constituent republics were defined by demarcation commissions, implementing the AVNOJ decisions of 1943 and 1945 regarding the federal organization of Yugoslavia. The commissions also defined Baranja and Međimurje as Croatian territories, and moreover set up the present-day 314-kilometer border between Serbia and Croatia in Sirmia and along the Danube River between Ilik and the Drava River's mouth and further north to the Hungarian border. The Ilik-Drava section matched the border between the Kingdom of Croatia, Slavonia and Bački County that existed until 1918. Most of the 600-kilometer border with Slovenia was also defined by the commissions, matching the northwestern border of the Kingdom of Croatia, Slavonia, and establishing a new section of Croatian border north of the Istrian Peninsula according to the ethnic composition of the territory previously belonging to the Kingdom of Italy. Pursuant to the 1947 Treaty of Peace with Italy, the islands of Crescent, Lastovo and Palagruza and the cities of Zadar and Rijeka and most of Istria went to Communist Yugoslavia and Croatia, while carving out the Free Territory of Trieste as a city-state. The FDT was partitioned in 1954 as Trieste itself and the area to the north of it were placed under Italian control, and the rest under Yugoslav control. The arrangement was made permanent by the Treaty of Arsimo in 1975. The former FDT's Yugoslav part was partitioned between Croatia and Slovenia. largely conforming to the area population's ethnic composition. In the late 19th century, Austria-Hungary established a geodetic network, for which the elevation benchmark was determined by the Adriatic Sea's average level at the Sartorio Pier in Trieste. This benchmark was subsequently retained by Austria, adopted by Yugoslavia, and kept by the states that emerged after its dissolution, including Croatia. Extreme points. The geographical extreme points of Croatia are Zabnik in Međimurje County as the northernmost point, Radovachni Ilik in Vukovar County as the easternmost point, Cape Laco near Busanaja in Istria County as the westernmost point, and the islet of Galigula in Palagruza Archipelago in Split Dalmatia County as the southernmost point. On the mainland, Cape Ostra of the Prevlaka Peninsula in Dubrovnik-Neretva County is the southernmost point. Maritime claims. Italy and Yugoslavia defined the delineation of the continental shelf in the Adriatic Sea in 1968, with an additional agreement on the boundary in the Gulf of Trieste signed in 1975 in accordance with the Treaty of Arsimo. All the successor states of former Yugoslavia accepted the agreements. Prior to Yugoslavia's breakup, Albania, Italy and Yugoslavia initially proclaimed 15 nautical mile territorial waters, subsequently reduced to the international standard 12 nautical miles. All sides adopted baseline systems. Croatia also declared its ecological and fisheries protection zone, a part of its exclusive economic zone, as extending to the continental shelf boundary. Croatia's territorial waters encompass 18,981 square kilometers. Its internal waters located within the baseline cover an additional 12,498 square kilometers. Border disputes. Maritime border disputes. Croatia and Slovenia started negotiations to define maritime borders in the Gulf of Pirin in 1992 but failed to agree, resulting in a dispute. Both countries also declared their economic zones, which partially overlap. Croatia's application to become an EU member state was initially suspended pending resolution of its border disputes with Slovenia. These were eventually settled with an agreement to accept the decision of an international arbitration commission set up via the UN, enabling Croatia to progress towards EU membership. The dispute has caused no major practical problems in areas other than the EU membership negotiations progress. Even before the arbitration agreement, the maritime boundary between Bosnia-Herzegovina and Croatia was formally settled in 1999. But a few issues are still contested: the Klek Peninsula and two islets in the border area. The Croatia-Montenegro maritime boundary is disputed in the Bay of Kotor at the Prevlaka Peninsula. The situation was exacerbated by the peninsula's occupation by the Yugoslav People's Army and later by the Serbian-Montenegrin Army, which in turn was replaced by a United Nations observer mission that lasted until 2002. Croatia took over the area with an agreement that allowed Montenegrin presence in Croatian waters in the bay, and the dispute has become far less contentious since the independence of Montenegro in 2006. Land border disputes. The land border disputes pertain to comparatively small strips of land. The Croatia-Slovenia border disputes are along the Draganja River's lower course, where Slovenia claims 3 hamlets on the river's left bank, the Sveta Gera peak of Zumberak, where exact territorial claims were never made and appear to be limited to a military barracks on the peak itself, and along the Mura River, where Slovenia wants the border to be along the current riverbed instead of along a former one, and claims a piece of land near Hotiza. These claims are likewise in the process of being settled by binding arbitration. There are also land border disputes between Croatia and Serbia. The two countries presently control one bank of the present-day river each, but Croatia claims that the border line should follow the cadastral borders between the former municipalities of Senior Croatia and Senior Serbia along the Danube, as defined by a Yugoslav commission in 1947. Borders claimed by Croatia also include the Vukovar and Carangrad Islands in the Danube as its territory. There is also a border dispute with Bosnia-Herzegovina. Specifically, Croatia claims Unsaka Channel on the right bank of Una as the border at Hrvatska Koštajnica, while Bosnia and Herzegovina claims Una River course as the border there.